Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another Devil Fruit Conglomerate video. Uh, I know it's been a while since I uploaded anything to YouTube. 2 weeks by the website's count, or actually maybe 3 weeks at this point. I don't know. It's currently the weekend, and I finally have a bit of free time, so I decided to get this out to all of you. Uh, I could only manage to squeeze parts or what was originally parts 5 and 6 into one video for you guys for this part 3 to the Devil Fruit Conglomerate series. But yeah, as I've been doing my stand ranking videos, I think at this point I'm on part 32. So those conglomerates will be coming out after these conglomerates, and these conglomerates will not be finishing for quite a bit, but that's fine because it'll give me something to look forward to as I'm ending out the school year. But regardless, into the video.
So, we left off in part 4 with the 136 number on the list, the bison fruit, the fruit that lets you turn into a bison. So, yeah, we're starting back up. This is part 5, and we're starting with Devil Fruit 135, the bind fruit. Stop thinking that. The bind fruit allows you to use your body to create any sort of steel binding. The problem is it's not any metal, it's just steel. So it's kind of restricted in that way, but you can manipulate it freely into any sort of binding you want, handcuffs, other steel restraints. This fruit got a 5 out of 10 in power, a 3 out of 10 in durability, or not durability, utility, which now that I think about it should probably be higher, but I'm just gonna keep the list the way that it is to make things not as complicated. Uh, got a 7 out of 10 in potential and a 10 out of 10 in detriments for an overall score of 25 points, I think. Uh, yes, 25 points out of 40. Note, every fruit that I have that I'm going to go over scored a 25 out of 40, except for the last one that scored a 26. Uh, let's see. After the bind fruit, we have the bomb fruit. The bomb fruit is kind of what it sounds like. It doesn't exactly let you create bombs, it lets you turn your body into bombs, and that includes anything that may come out of your body. So, like, like fingernail clippings or stuff like that. Or, the guy that uses it in the show actually he turned his breath into an explosive, so that could be an effective method, possibly, if you're like in a high-speed car chase. This fruit got a 7 out of 10 in power, 3 out of 10 in utility, 8 out of 10 in potential, and a 7 out of 10 in detriments. Because you do kind of have to sacrifice parts of your body to make the bombs. Next up, we have the mark fruit. Now, the mark fruit allows you to place a. Basically, you have one. You have your left hand and your right hand. Your left hand. I think this is my left hand, right? Yeah, this is my left hand. I touch something with this, and it marks it as a target. Now, if I have the fruit power, anything I grab and pick up and throw with my right hand flies at the target that my left hand last touched at top speed. And yeah, that's how it works. Um, it got a 9 out of 10 in power because the thing's flying at top speed. It got a 5 out of 10 in utility because it's good for moving things, but it is kind of like you can't actually just touch a table. You have to mark like a target as in like an actual person. It's never been used to like transfer one inanimate object to an inanimate surface. It has to be like a person, which is also why it has a detriment score of 8. Why did I give it a detriment score of 8? No, it doesn't matter. And it has a potential score of 3 because it's kind of just moving things from point A to point B, but just really fast. The fourth fruit that I'm going to go over in this video is the magma fruit. Guess what? It lets you create, control, and turn into magma. It got a 10 out of 10 in power because magma's kind of going to trump most other things in terms of offensive capabilities. But it also got a 5 out of 10 in utility because it's not really good for much other than destruction. It got a 6 out of 10 in potential because, I mean, it's magma, but also it's magma. And then it got a 4 out of 10 in detriments because you can accidentally destroy a lot of things by creating or even turning into small amounts of magma. Now, finally, we have our 26er. It is the dango fruit. Now, dango is a type of Japanese food which is like tiny rice balls, I think. And basically, the user of this devil fruit can create these dango balls out of their cheeks, and cheeks like this cheek. I don't know if it works with the other cheeks, but whatever. And the dango created from the cheeks can be fed to pretty much any animal, and it will immediately tame it, which is great if you want an animal best friend. Uh, it got a 3 out of 10 in power, an 8 out of 10 in utility, a 7 out of 10 in potential, and an 8 out of 10 in detriments. The reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 in detriments is because there is the small thing of you have to like reapply the condition every now and then because they stop being under the dango's effects after I think the next full moon or maybe the next new moon. I'm not totally sure how it works, but I do know there's like some sort of moon cycle based time limit. And damn, I got this one in under 7 minutes. So I will see you guys in a bit for episode will this be 6? Alright, see you later.
You tired of me being an idiot yet? Well, too bad.
Part 6. Here we go. Numbers 130 through 126. Note, all of these devil fruits ranked at 26 out of 40 on my scale, my point scale, my totally fair point scale that I made when I was very much less experienced at life, like 4 years ago. But whatever. So, number 130 is the calm fruit. It's kind of what it sounds like, but it's also not what it sounds like. Basically, the calm fruit allows you to create a sort of barrier that doesn't isolate physical mass, but it does isolate sound. So, like, you put up this barrier, and then you you can't hear anyone outside the barrier, but also anyone outside the barrier can't hear you. Uh, I don't know if this effect permanently applies to the user unless they like put out their barrier, because the previous user was kind of selectively mute, so we don't totally know what that deal was. But yeah, no sound gets in or out. That's the big deal. This fruit got a 3 out of 10 in power, an 8 out of 10 in utility, a 7 out of 10 in potential, and 8 out of 10 in detriments. Just because I feel like it'd be better if you could hear everything going on outside the bubble, but also could hear everything going on inside the bubble. It's just people outside the bubble can't hear what's going on inside the bubble. Oh yeah, the bubble's also invisible. Anyway, number 129, the stitch fruit. It kind of just gives you ridiculously good stitching skills. Uh, I don't totally know what else it does, but yeah, it got a 4 out of 10 in power, a 5 out of 10 in utility, a 7 out of 10 in terms of potential, and a 10 out of 10 in terms of detriment, because there's not really a lot you can mess up with stitching, especially if you have a superpower that gives you extreme stitching skills. Alright, next up we have the Hornet Fruit. The Hornet Fruit is just a devil fruit that allows you to turn into a hornet or a hornet human hybrid. It got a 4 out of 10 in power, an 8 out of 10 in utility, because if you're turning into a hornet, you can slip into like small spaces. Uh, Also, you can fly as a hornet, but you're also kind of small, so not for long distances. You got a 6 out of 10 in potential and an 8 out of 10 in detriments, just because as a hornet, you're kind of small and fragile. Anyway, next up we have the clone fruit. Now, this one, I know, is correct. The clone fruit does not allow you to make clones of yourself. The clone fruit allows you, with your body, to clone other people. Basically, slap someone with one hand, slap them in the face, or I don't know, let's say you have the devil fruit and you slap me in the face, and then you slap yourself in the face. Thank you. Uh, anyway, so now that you've slapped yourself in the face, after slapping me in the face, you can change not only your face to look like my handsome face, but you could also change your body to look like my body. You can basically perfectly mimic the physical appearances. The biggest issue being that you don't get any of the memories, which is kind of important when you're replacing someone or like trying to pose as someone, which is kind of most of what this fruit is good for. You got a 4 out of 10 in power, 7 out of 10 in utility, 8 out of 10 in potential, and a 7 out of 10 in detriments. Mainly because of the whole slapping thing. Uh, Number 126 will be our last fruit for today. It is the butter fruit. It is what it sounds like. You get to create and manipulate butter. This could not get much more simple. It got a 4 out of 10 in power and a 5 out of 10 in utility. You got a 7 out of 10 in potential and a 10 out of 10 in detriments. Why? Because nothing can possibly go wrong when you're wielding butter. And even if it does go wrong, it'll be funny. Therefore, it's not a detriment. Alright, got this one in under 6 minutes. So, I will see y'all tomorrow. Definitely with episode 7, possibly with episode 8. See you later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for part 3 of Devil Fruit Conglomerate. I hope you all have a great day, and don't ask me when part 4 is coming out. Not that anyone cares enough to ask me that at this stage, but if you do care enough to ask me that, you probably also care enough to subscribe to this channel. And I'll tell you this much. If I get a view, if I get one more view on each of my Devil Fruit Conglomerate videos and a new subscriber by the end of the week, I guarantee you I will release part 4 of the conglomerates within the next week. If I don't, who knows? See you later.